Eli Mercer had never been anyone special. On the crowded asteroid station of Korath, he moved like a shadow, blending with scavengers, traders, and opportunists from every corner of the galaxy. He was small, wiry, and quick, perfect for slipping between crates of old parts, dodging alien guards, and finding things that no one else noticed. Today, however, his eyes were fixed on something far beyond the ordinary: the auction hall. The hall was enormous, a shining dome that reflected the light of nearby stars. Alien species of all shapes and sizes crowded the main floor. Tentacles waved, beaks clacked, and exoskeletons clicked against metal floors. Ships of every make and model were displayed on hovering platforms, some sleek and fast, others heavily armored and dangerous. But Eli's gaze was locked on one particular ship. It sat at the edge of the auction floor, dark and angular, almost sneering at the crowd. Its paint was scratched, and the armor plating showed signs of neglect, but Eli could see the bones of something powerful beneath the grime. It was an aggressor-class fighter, long retired from most fleets because it was considered too volatile. Every alien bidder had passed it over with a look of disgust or fear. Too unstable, one trader with green, scaled skin whispered to another, "It'll explode if you even breathe near it." Eli smiled under his hood. That was exactly why he wanted it. As the auctioneer, a tall, four-armed creature with sharp ridges along its head, raised its claws, the final bids were called. Most ships sold for millions of credits. Eli had maybe one-tenth of that, but the aggressor-class fighter, no one wanted it. The gavel came down with a hollow thud. The ship was his for almost nothing. He stepped forward, feeling the thrill of victory. Around him, the aliens murmured and shook their heads. A human, they thought, shouldn't be handling this kind of weapon. They had never seen a human pilot a dangerous ship before. Most of them still underestimated humans, thinking them weak and reckless. Eli liked that. The ship's hatch hissed as he climbed inside. The cockpit smelled of old oil and dust, but Eli didn't mind. He ran his hands over the controls, feeling the cold metal and worn buttons. The AI panel blinked, lifeless. He knew it had been deactivated after years of failed missions. Eli set to work immediately. First, he scanned the hull for damage. There were scratches, dents, and a few scorch marks, but nothing he couldn't repair. He smiled to himself. This ship had been built for battle, not comfort. It had been rejected because the previous owners feared its power. That fear was a human's playground. By the time he returned to his small asteroid workshop, night had fallen on Korath. The stars shone bright and sharp through the large window of his workshop, a reminder that the galaxy was bigger than any alien fear. He opened the ship's panels and began dismantling the controls. Each wire, circuit, and weapon system was studied, cleaned, and tested. Eli moved fast but carefully. Hours passed. Sparks flew. Machines whirred. At times, the AI panel flickered, as if it were testing him, challenging him. Eli ignored the warnings. Every human knew how to take a chance when others would not. As he worked, he discovered something extraordinary. Deep in the ship's memory core were fragments of an ancient design. The ship's AI wasn't just programmed to fire weapons. It could think, analyze battle strategies, and even predict enemy movements. That level of intelligence had not been seen for decades, not even among the most advanced alien fleets. Eli felt a thrill. Humans were small, yes, but this was the kind of tech a human mind could bend to greatness. Then came the first test. Eli activated the primary weapon systems. The cockpit lights glowed red, and the ship trembled slightly under its own power. He had expected it to sputter, maybe fail entirely. Instead, the weapons powered up, the systems calibrating themselves with eerie precision. A display blinked, pilot recognized, authentication complete. Eli froze. His ship was responding to him almost as if it knew he belonged here. He laughed, a low, proud sound. Humans had a way of surprising everyone, even machines. The next day, Eli faced his first real challenge. A small gang of alien scavengers had learned about the auction. They believed they could steal the ship before he made it fully operational. Eli was ready. He had rigged the ship with makeshift defenses, using discarded tech and his own modifications. The aliens attacked in a rickety skiff, firing strange energy weapons. Eli ducked, rolled, and fired back with improvised projectiles. The skiff shuddered under his precise attacks. They had expected fear, but Eli moved like lightning, dodging and countering with an agility no alien could match. His modifications worked better than he thought, making the ship nimble despite its size. The aliens retreated, muttering curses in languages Eli barely understood. By evening, the workshop was quiet again. Eli sat in the cockpit, his hands on the controls, feeling the ship hum with latent power. The stars outside seemed to shine just for him. In that moment, he understood something deep and human. The galaxy would never take humans seriously unless they proved themselves, and Eli had just begun to do that. But the AI had more to reveal. As he connected additional modules, the ship displayed a hidden map, a sector of space marked with old human colonies and lost battle zones. It was a reminder that humans had once been stronger than the galaxy believed. Eli realized that this ship, rejected and forgotten, could become the key to reminding everyone of that truth. He spent nights planning upgrades, learning the AI's logic and testing systems one by one. By the end of the week, the ship was no longer a discarded weapon. It was alive. Its weapons were ready, its engines tuned, and its AI learning from every move Eli made. For Eli, this was more than just survival. It was transformation. He, a simple human scavenger, had turned a rejected relic into something far greater than the aliens could imagine. And he knew one thing clearly. One day, the galaxy would notice. As part one closes, Eli sits in the cockpit, staring out at the stars. His ship waits silently beside him, ready to follow him wherever he dared to go. The stage is set. The human underestimated by all is no longer small. The real adventure, tests of skill, courage, and wit, was about to begin. And somewhere in the darkness of space, beyond alien fleets and trade routes, a quiet hum echoes, a warning that humans, reckless and daring, can make legends out of machines the galaxy had long forgotten. Eli Mercer had been awake for hours, yet he felt more alive than ever. The stars outside his asteroid workshop glittered like distant fires, but he hardly noticed them anymore. His mind was focused entirely on the ship. The aggressor-class fighter, now fully powered and responsive, sat in the hangar like a coiled predator, its dark metal gleaming under the workshop lights. The AI had been quiet since the last test flight, analyzing, calculating, and learning. Eli had discovered that it was more than just a weapon. It had instincts, tactical logic, and something almost like personality. He could feel it observing him, waiting for him to push it to its limits. "This isn't just a ship," Eli whispered to himself. "It's a tool, a weapon of humans." He spent the morning inspecting every system. The engines had raw power, but with some adjustments, they could outrun nearly any ship in the sector. The weapons systems were volatile, but he realized that with careful calibration, the aggressor-class fighter could fire faster, hit harder, and outmaneuver ships far larger than itself. Eli's hands moved quickly over the panels, connecting salvaged circuits and adapting alien tech to the ship's existing systems. Small drones he had scavenged scuttled around the ship, welding, repairing, and testing components under Eli's supervision. He worked tirelessly, driven by a mix of curiosity, pride, and a hunger to prove himself. But no matter how perfect he made the ship, Eli knew he wasn't ready to fly it in open space without testing. He needed more information, and that meant going outside. The asteroid's surface was jagged and gray, pocked with craters and ridges. Eli rolled the ship onto the landing pad and climbed into the cockpit. The AI powered up immediately. Pilot detected. Tactical support online, the ship said, its voice calm but alert. Eli smiled. Good. Let's see what you can do. The engines roared to life, the vibrations humming through the hull. Eli took a deep breath and pushed the throttle. The ship shot forward, faster than he expected. He looped around the asteroid, dodging rocks and testing maneuverability. Every move was calculated, but the AI added suggestions, correcting his angles, anticipating hazards. "This is amazing," Eli muttered. "It's like you're reading my mind." The test flight was going perfectly until the alien gang found him. The first warning came in the form of blaring alarms. Sensors detected fast-moving skiffs approaching the asteroid at high speed. Eli frowned. These weren't ordinary scavengers. These were experienced fighters, likely tipped off by someone who knew about the auction. He quickly adjusted the ship's shields and weapon systems. The AI chimed in, highlighting weaknesses in the approaching skiffs and suggesting attack patterns. Eli followed the instructions instinctively, flipping the ship into evasive maneuvers. The alien skiffs fired, but their shots bounced harmlessly off the reinforced hull. Eli returned fire with a mixture of the ship's original weapons and his improvised modifications. Laser beams and plasma bolts streaked across the asteroid field, striking skiffs, sending one spinning into the void. Eli's heart raced, but he felt alive. This was what humans did best: adapt, think fast, and find a way when others hesitated. One by one, the skiffs fell, destroyed or disabled. The rest retreated, their alien chatter full of confusion and fear. Eli laughed, a sharp, victorious sound. "That's how you show them what humans are made of." The AI responded almost approvingly. "Tactical efficiency, 92%. Recommend further testing." Eli nodded. "Noted, but I want 100%. After the skiffs were gone, Eli returned to the workshop. The battle had tested the ship's systems, and he already had ideas for upgrades. He worked through the night, installing new energy conduits, reinforcing the hull with scavenged alloys, and upgrading the targeting systems. Each adjustment made the ship faster, stronger, and smarter. He also began experimenting with unconventional weapons. Using alien tech scavenged from old wrecks, he modified energy blasters to fire concentrated bursts capable of piercing even the thickest shields. He built a small drone network to act as scouts and support units, linking them directly to the ship's AI for coordination. By morning, the ship was no longer just a repaired fighter. It was something unique, a hybrid of human ingenuity and alien technology, a weapon no one had expected to exist. Eli's first long-range mission came sooner than he anticipated. A trader he knew had offered him a chance to smuggle critical supplies through a dangerous sector controlled by pirates. Eli agreed, knowing it would test both his skills and the ship's capabilities. He launched into space, the AI guiding him through asteroid fields, patrol routes, and energy storms. Every maneuver was precise. The pirates never saw him coming. When they opened fire, the ship responded instantly. Energy blasts ripped through the void, and Eli's drones harassed enemy vessels, drawing their attention away from the main assault. The humans' ability to improvise was unmatched. While the pirates relied on brute force, Eli used strategy, speed, and clever tricks. He led the pirates into a trap, forcing several ships to crash into asteroid belts. By the time the remaining enemies retreated, Eli had not only completed the mission, but had also demonstrated something the galaxy often forgot: humans could be deadly when underestimated. Back on the asteroid station, word of the young human's exploits began to spread. Rumors circulated in whispers and transmissions: a human with a dangerous ship, a ship once rejected, now unstoppable. Eli ignored most of the attention, focused on his work. But he felt a subtle shift. Aliens who once dismissed him now looked at him differently, some with fear, others with curiosity. Despite his successes, Eli knew the real test was yet to come. The galaxy held greater threats than scavengers and pirates. There were fleets, war machines, and civilizations that had long considered humans primitive. Eli and his ship would have to be ready for all of them. He spent the following weeks pushing the ship further, running simulations, and exploring uncharted sectors. Each flight improved the bond between him and the AI. He could feel it learning his instincts, predicting his moves, and even reacting faster than he could sometimes. The ship was no longer just a tool. It was an extension of himself, a partner in every sense. One evening, while running a test through an abandoned asteroid belt, the AI detected something unusual. A faint signal, hidden within cosmic interference, originated from a derelict station several light-years away. Eli scanned the signal. It appeared to be human in origin, ancient and encrypted, a relic of long-lost colonies. "This could be important," Eli said aloud, leaning forward. "Maybe it's a clue about the original purpose of this ship." The AI responded, analyzing hypothesis, high probability of military significance. Recommendation, proceed with caution. Eli grinned. Caution is human for beginners. We're not beginners. As the ship propelled him toward the derelict station, Eli couldn't help but reflect. The galaxy had written humans off for centuries. Weak, reckless, unpredictable. But that unpredictability, that willingness to try what others would not, was exactly what made humans dangerous. And with this ship, he was about to prove it. The derelict station loomed ahead, dark and silent against the starry void. Eli docked carefully, scanning for threats. The station had been abandoned for decades, but signs of old activity remained. As he moved inside, the ship's AI interfaced with the station's systems, revealing hidden chambers, weapon caches, and data terminals. Eli's excitement grew. This was more than a mission. It was an opportunity to uncover lost human technology, to connect with the ingenuity of his ancestors, and to push the aggressor-class fighter beyond anything it had ever been designed to do. He realized something important. Humans didn't just survive by strength or numbers. Humans survived by thinking, adapting, and daring. The galaxy might underestimate them, but humans had a way of turning the impossible into reality. As Part 2 closes, Eli stands at the heart of the derelict station, surrounded by dormant technology and untapped potential. The ship hums beside him, ready, alert, waiting for the next command. Eli knows the real challenge is ahead, enemies who are stronger, faster, and more numerous than any he has faced. But for the first time, he feels ready. Humans may be underestimated, but with ingenuity, courage, and the right tools, they could change the balance of the galaxy. The adventure had begun in earnest. The rejected ship was no longer just a prize. It was the beginning of something far greater. Eli Mercer had faced danger before, but nothing like this. The derelict station had yielded secrets, maps, schematics, and data logs of old human colonies long thought lost. But the deeper he dug, the more he realized that the galaxy was far more dangerous than he had imagined. The AI hummed quietly beside him in the cockpit of the aggressor-class fighter. It had learned everything Eli could teach it, and then some. Its tactical algorithms had improved beyond the original design, capable of predicting enemy movements and calculating impossible maneuvers. But even with all of its power, Eli felt a tension he could not ignore. "This is bigger than pirates," Eli muttered. "Much bigger." The first warning came on the sensors, a fleet. Not a small group, not scavenger skiffs, but a fleet of advanced alien warships. Sleek, heavily armed, and coordinated, the ships moved with precision. Their signature was unmistakable, the Krith Alliance, a faction known for crushing anything human or alien that opposed them. "They've been hunting humans for centuries," Eli said. His voice was steady, but inside, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him. "Looks like they found me." The AI responded with calm precision. "Threat assessment, 87% probability of engagement. recommendation, evasive action, and reconnaissance. Eli shook his head. No. We don't run, we don't hide, we fight. He pushed the throttle, and the aggressor-class fighter leapt into space. The ship responded instantly, its engines roaring as it darted through asteroid fields and abandoned satellites. The AI adjusted shields, reinforced weapon output, and predicted the paths of the Krith fleet. Each calculation allowed Eli to move faster, strike harder, and remain unseen. Despite their advanced technology, the Krith were cautious. They had never faced a human pilot who moved with such reckless ingenuity. Eli used the environment to his advantage, weaving through dense asteroid clusters, leading some ships into collisions, and using the ship's AI to anticipate attacks before they happened. This was no longer a fight of strength. It was a fight of mind, strategy, and daring, human traits that the Krith had long underestimated. Hours passed in a blur of calculations and maneuvers. The Krith tried to trap him, forming grids and blockades, but Eli anticipated every move. Using his improvised drone network, he created decoys, confusing the enemy fleet and forcing them to scatter. The AI adapted each time, suggesting new tactics faster than Eli could imagine. Finally, the moment came. Eli spotted a Krith flagship at the center of the formation, larger than the rest, heavily shielded and armed with weapons that could destroy entire sectors. Most humans would have retreated. Eli smiled. "This is what humans do," he said quietly. "We take what's impossible and make it work." He pushed the ship into a dive, weaving between the flagship and its escorts. The drone struck first, targeting shields and sensors. The flagship's weapons fired, but Eli dodged each blast with precision, guided by the AI. Then he unleashed the fighter's primary weapons, modified energy cannons firing concentrated bursts directly at the flagship's weak points. The flagship shuddered under the assault, its shields flickering. The Krith were stunned. No human had ever dared to attack their central command ship in full formation. But the Krith were experienced warriors. They adapted, redirecting fire and sending swarms of smaller fighters to intercept Eli. He maneuvered through them, using the ship's AI and drones to create openings. Every move was calculated, but every decision came from a place of human intuition, the kind the Krith could never predict. Eli laughed as one squadron of fighters collided with an asteroid, destroyed by a combination of misdirection and calculated timing. Another group chased decoys into the void. The flagship's shields faltered again, and for a moment, Eli felt unstoppable. Yet he knew the fight wasn't over. The Krith were learning. They would not allow a single human to escape this challenge. Using the maps from the derelict station, Eli led the Krith fleet toward a narrow sector of the asteroid belt. The AI guided him through impossible paths, calculating trajectories that no alien pilot could manage. The Krith ship struggled to follow, their massive size and rigidity working against them. "This is it," Eli said, eyes locked on the flagship. "Time to finish it." He initiated a risky maneuver, a spiral dive into the asteroid field, firing weapons in rapid bursts, dodging collisions, and using the drones to create chaos. The flagship, unable to adapt quickly, collided with debris, causing massive damage. Its shields dropped and Eli's weapons struck the core systems directly. The ship groaned, sparks flying from its hull. The Krith were stunned. They had never faced such audacity, such creativity. A single human in a ship they considered rejected and obsolete had crippled their most important vessel. The remaining fleet withdrew, leaving Eli alone in the wreckage-filled space. He floated among asteroids, catching his breath. The AI spoke, almost softly. "Tactical efficiency, 96%. Probability of long-term threat to humans, minimal if current trajectory maintained." Eli smirked. "Not bad, partner, not bad at all." For the first time, Eli felt that humans were truly being seen, not as weak, reckless creatures, but as clever, daring, and adaptable. The Krith had underestimated him, just as every alien had underestimated humans for centuries. But there was no time to celebrate. Eli knew the Krith would return, stronger and more prepared. He needed allies, strategies, and technology if humans were to survive in a galaxy that considered them inferior. He returned to the derelict station, docking carefully. The AI interfaced with the ancient systems, uncovering more data. Schematics revealed lost human colonies with forgotten technologies, energy weapons, defensive systems, and ship designs far beyond what the current galaxy understood. "This is bigger than I thought," Eli said. "We have the chance to do more than survive. We can take the fight to them." The AI responded almost with approval. Analysis: humans possess creativity, adaptability, and unpredictability. These traits are critical for strategic dominance. Eli smiled. That was human. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But their unpredictability, ingenuity, and willingness to take risks made them dangerous. Too dangerous for the Krith and anyone else who wrote them off. The next step was clear. Eli needed to train, to push the ship and AI further, and to prepare for the Krith's inevitable return. He gathered more scavenged technology, repaired additional drones, and even began experimenting with stealth systems. He studied alien tactics, learning how they thought, predicted their moves, and then found ways to outmaneuver them. Every flight, every test, every encounter taught him something new. Humans survived because they adapted, because they improvised, and because they dared to challenge what others considered impossible. Weeks passed. Eli's fame, or infamy, spread quietly through the sector. Alien traders whispered of a human in a rejected ship who had bested the Krith flagship. Some laughed it off. Others became cautious. Humans were no longer invisible. Eli didn't seek recognition. He sought strength, knowledge, and preparation. The Krith would return, and when they did, they would find humans ready, not just to survive, but to fight, to win, and to redefine the galaxy's understanding of what humans could achieve. He stood in the cockpit one evening, staring out at the stars. The AI hummed beside him, lights flickering in quiet communication. Together, they had become more than pilot and ship. They were a team, a weapon, a symbol of human ingenuity. The galaxy might still underestimate humans, but Eli knew the truth. Humans were unpredictable, relentless, and brilliant when challenged. And now, armed with the aggressor-class fighter and the lost knowledge of their ancestors, humans could stand against anyone, even the Krith Alliance. As Part 3 closes, Eli plots a course for the unknown territories marked on the derelict station's maps. The Krith fleet would return, and when it did, they would meet a human who was no longer just a scavenger. He was a tactician, a fighter, and a force that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. And somewhere deep in space, a quiet message echoed across the stars. Humans were no longer to be dismissed. The stars ahead burned cold and bright, like 1,000 distant eyes watching Eli Mercer. He sat in the cockpit of the aggressor-class fighter, hands gripping the controls, heart steady. Behind him, the ship hummed with quiet power. Every system had been tested, every weapon upgraded. The AI, his partner in this war, pulsed with intelligence, ready for what was coming. The Krith Alliance had returned. Their fleet, larger and more organized than before, approached with cold precision. Word of Eli's exploits had spread, and the Krith were determined to eliminate the human threat. But Eli did not feel fear. Humans had survived worse, and now, armed with ingenuity, courage, and a ship no one else could control, he was ready to face the challenge. "Status report," Eli said, his voice calm. "Krith fleet detected, 6 capital ships, 20 support vessels. Probability of engagement, 100%, the AI replied. Recommendation, tactical advantage achievable through unconventional maneuvering." Eli smiled. "That's humans." Let's show them why they should never underestimate us. He plotted a course through a dense asteroid field. The Krith fleet, large and inflexible, followed, their ships clanking against one another as they tried to maintain formation. Eli knew this was his advantage. He banked the fighter sharply, weaving through tight passages, the AI guiding every motion with split-second calculations. The first Krith capital ship fired. Energy beams lanced through the asteroid field, but Eli's fighter dodged with impossibly tight turns. He fired back, using modified energy cannons to chip away at shields, while drones swarmed enemy sensors, creating confusion. The smaller Krith vessels tried to flank him, but the AI predicted their movements and countered them with precision strikes. One by one, skiffs were disabled or sent spinning into the void. The Krith were growing frustrated, their confidence shaken. Then came the flagship. Larger, more powerful, and heavily shielded, it loomed in front of Eli like a dark mountain. Most humans would have retreated. Eli did not. He activated the ship's stealth system, an experimental upgrade built from the derelict station schematics. The fighter vanished from the Krith sensors. It was a ghost moving among giants. Eli drew closer, threading between massive engines and energy turrets, until he was almost inside the flagship's defensive perimeter. Then he unleashed a coordinated attack, drones to disable shields, rapid-fire energy bursts to weaken armor, and finally, a full strike aimed at the core. The flagship shuddered violently. Sparks flew from its hull, and energy systems faltered. The Krith scrambled, attempting to respond, but they could not predict the humans' next move. Eli had turned the impossible into reality. Suddenly, one of the Krith commanders tried a counterattack, sending a squadron directly at him. Eli laughed, heart pounding with exhilaration. Using the ship's AI, he performed a series of maneuvers that no alien pilot could anticipate. The squadron collided with one another in a chaotic tangle of metal and energy, destroyed before they could even reach him. Humans had a way of turning creativity into weapons, of using danger as an advantage. The Krith, despite centuries of warfare, had never faced this kind of unpredictability. Eli was living proof. With the flagship weakened, Eli went for the final strike. He dove into the heart of the enemy formation, weaving through beams of energy, dodging collisions, and firing at precise weak points. The AI coordinated every drone, every weapon, and every shield adjustment, making Eli's fighter seem like a single, unstoppable organism. Then, at the perfect moment, he fired. Energy beams struck the core simultaneously from multiple angles, explosions ripping through the ship's structure. The flagship screamed in metallic agony before finally collapsing in a blinding flash. The Krith fleet faltered. Confidence shattered, formations broke apart, and many ships fled. Eli had done the impossible. He had turned a rejected, unstable fighter into a weapon capable of defeating one of the galaxy's most feared fleets. After the battle, Eli drifted through the debris-strewn sector. The AI ran diagnostics, repairing minor damage and scanning for survivors. Pilot, it said almost contemplatively, probability of Krith resurgence, high. Recommendation, continue upgrades and strategic planning. Eli nodded. We've done enough for today. The galaxy needs to see what humans are capable of, not just survive but fight and win. For the first time, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, dismissed as fragile and reckless. Yet here he was, a young human scavenger standing victorious in a fighter no one else had believed in. This was more than a battle. It was a statement. Humans were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. They survived because they dared to take risks, because they used their brains as much as their hands, and because they refused to be ignored. Word spread quickly. Aliens who had once dismissed humans as weak began to speak cautiously, even respectfully. Traders whispered about the human in the rejected fighter, about the one who had defeated the Krith flagship. Some laughed nervously, some watched from a distance, unsure what this meant for their civilizations. Eli did not seek fame. He sought preparation. The Krith might regroup, other alien factions might see opportunity, but humanity had gained something far more valuable: respect and a reminder of its own potential. Eli returned to the derelict station, docking carefully. The ship, now fully upgraded and tested in battle, rested quietly, its AI running analyses of what had transpired. Eli walked through the station's chambers, reviewing schematics of lost human technology. Every upgrade, every design, every lesson learned from ancient colonies could be used to strengthen humanity further. "This is just the beginning," Eli said aloud. "The galaxy thinks humans are weak, that we can be ignored. They're wrong. They've always been wrong." The AI responded softly but firmly. "Humans, adaptable, resourceful, unpredictable, advantageous traits, these qualities will shape future outcomes." Eli smiled. That was the truth he had proven. Humans might be small, their fleets few, but their ingenuity and courage were unmatched. One human, one fighter, and one mind capable of innovation could change the course of history. Days later, Eli received a transmission from a hidden human colony. The message was brief but urgent. "We've been waiting. Your fighter is the key. The galaxy will need humans who can take control of lost technology and fight back. Are you ready?" Eli looked at the stars, then back at the ship. The aggressor-class fighter, once rejected and abandoned, had become a legend. Its AI pulsed with life, ready to follow him wherever the galaxy required. "I'm ready," he said. "Humanity is ready." That night, Eli sat in the cockpit, staring at the distant stars, thinking about the future. Other humans would take up the fight, reclaim forgotten technology, and face threats no one else would dare. They would be unpredictable, clever, and bold. The galaxy would learn to respect humans, not because of their numbers or raw power, but because of their ingenuity, courage, and willingness to defy the impossible. And somewhere in the dark reaches of space, alien civilizations would remember the day a human, with a rejected fighter, changed everything. The adventure was far from over. New threats would arise and the Krith would return. But now humanity had a weapon, a legend, and proof that being underestimated was not weakness. It was the ultimate advantage. Eli smiled one last time, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, perfect for humans. And with that, the rejected ship, now a weapon of humanity, soared forward into the stars, carrying the hope, courage, and ingenuity of an entire species.